Hello and welcome to yet another completely unprofessional unboxing. Scott here, and this is the first unboxing that we've had since Gen Con. I am back and almost fully over the convention, as those of you who have been following along either on my channel or on the Titterpigs YouTube channel know that we've had a wonderful time. And if you're interested in a kind of a general recap of everything, go to the Titterpigs YouTube channel and you'll see a live video that Keith and I did. And you can find out how the last day of Gen Con went, along with some other highlights, where we talk about in detail our experience at the WotC press release for the new D&D book and our takeaway from it. But that's not what we're here for today. I am here to take a look at the Arkham Horror, the role-playing game from Edge that I picked up at Gen Con. And I'm going to be doing this for a few things from my Gen Con haul. Probably going to be taking a look at the Cyberpunk mission kit and maybe a few other things as I open them up and get a first impression along with you, as these will be the first time that I've taken a look at these games. So this Arkham Horror was one of general interest. It kind of, as far as I'm concerned, it came out of nowhere. I had no idea that they were going to be making a new Cthulhu role-playing game, especially one based on the card game, based on the board game, based on whatever. Anyways, but it got a lot of good response. The people there that we met were wonderful people. They're very excited for this game, and this box set is their starter set. So with the book soon to follow, along with other things for the role-playing game. But enough, as I prattle on and on as I do. Let's take a look and see what is inside. All right, so take a little sip here. Yes, it was a wonderful Gen Con. Still not 100%. Didn't get sick, thankfully. Didn't get COVID, thankfully. But just generally just kind of getting back into the reality of things. School has started for my wife and my kids. And so there's going to be a bit of delay on those who are interested in her take on the artist critique on the monster manuals. But hopefully those will be coming soon. So I digress again. So Hungering Abyss is the name of the starter set for the Arkham Horror. I got to get used to that, for Arkham Horror, the role-playing game by Edge Studios. And here on the cover of the box, we kind of have I wouldn't say typical collage, but it is definitely one where if the title wasn't in here, the collage itself would definitely, tell you that it has to do with horror. Maybe not necessarily Cthulhu-esque horror. There's a couple tentacles there. So... But definitely a horror game, and dealing with, most of them on here, most of the women on here seem to be a bit younger, as far as, they in college, at Miskatonic University and whatnot. And we have our atypical bearded trenchcoat Cthulhu-esque protagonist standing on the wayside to assist them with whatever horrors they're dealing with. So let's take a look on the back before we open it up. So, let's take this tape off here. We're not going to use the trusty Coleman camping steak knife for this one. I just want to be very careful with the box. There's on both sides. Let's take care of this real quick. I pre-untaped it to make it easy and didn't realize they did all edges. But nice and secure anyways. Okay, so... Arkham Horror, the role-playing game. On the back it says, it's the Hungering Abyss, a chorus of howls, a ravenous hunger, and a endless abyss. Death has come to the cobbled streets of Arkham, Massachusetts. So the game has a lot of bits and bobs, we'll find out. You can tell by the imagery on the back of the box. And what else does it have to say? Each day, more missing posters are added to the growing pile, and another cluster of graves are left defiled and robbed. The police seem baffled, or perhaps complacent, and the fate of the city rests in the hands of those who would risk themselves to uncover the truth of the hungering abyss. In this beginner-friendly learn as you play starter set, interesting, players take on the roles of talented and bold investigators caught up in the mystery behind the lurking dread that has fallen over the city of Arkham in the height of the 1920s. The investigators must do what they can to stop whatever force is feasting on the fear of the city, and they must do it before the true horror can be summoned from a world beyond their own. Up to 5 players and 1 game master can risk it all to save Arkham and the world. Whether you're a role player or brand new to collaborative storytelling tabletop games, the starter set is an excellent way to explore the expansive world of Arkham Horror. The box is filled with game-enhancing components to create an immersive experience. So, all right, well, let's take a look what's inside. So Keith, our friend Keith from the Titterpigs, already looked inside, and one of the things that he pointed out, so I might as well reveal before we go into it, is this is entirely a physical-only game. There is no digital aspects that are being provided for it currently, meaning that either you're running this game in person with real life people, or if you're wanting to run it online, it's going to require a bit of personal prep to get all the components on here to jive in a digital aspect. So we'll set that aside. Oh, and one thing also I will point out that Bud showed on his Gen Con Hall review is kind of cool. We'll kind of show that there. See, it's got a little droopy lip there on the edge, which makes it easier to get all of the stuff inside out of the box without having to turn it upside down and shake it out like with some box sets. Or this also should make it easier to get everything back in and stacked up without having to, put it back in perfectly. So what do we have here? What do we have here, Scott? So we have, first book on the top is A Hungering Abyss. I assume this is the adventure. It is. We'll set that aside for now as we go through everything. We've got Joe Diamond. No relation to Jack the NPC, although you could put Seth right there and you wouldn't be able to tell the difference. These look like these are the characters. Nice little portfolios with details, imagery inside. I love these things. I really do. They're very convenient. They're very nice. But as with most people, one of the things that you always run into is, should we write in these things? You can always print them out if you want, eat up a lot of ink. I mean, I know some people are just like, no, I can't. It's like writing in a book, but write in pencil. They're character sheets. We can erase them. It's a game. It's okay. So it looks like we've got some props here. Yes, we do. It's just double-sided, not okay. We got some maps, as I believe there are characters in here, or not characters, miniatures, I think, or at least tokens. So first and foremost, I should say, as we're going through this is a starter set with the adventure information in here. So anything on here could be a spoiler, just in case you need to have your hand held in regards to information regarding adventures when it comes to YouTube videos. So we got William York, the Grave Digger. We've got Rita Young, the athlete. We have Carolyn Fern, the psychologist. We have Daisy Walker, the librarian. And looks like we have some more props. Looks like we have some more, wow, very detailed maps. This looks like a detailed map of a hospital and a graveyard on the back. And since there's a graph laid over it, I assume that these also will be battle maps. Safe assumption there. We've got some pop-out tokens and some sort of standee, I think. And what do we have here? We have, more pop-out tokens. Whoops, stay in there for now. And we've got more tokens. These look like character tokens and monster tokens. Then we have, is this a little GM screen? It is. And it's cardboard. Nice cardboard, not cheap, flimsy, plastic-covered paper. Oh, how weird. Okay, it's just a two-sided GM screen. That's kind of neat. I mean, if that's everything you need, takes up less real estate on your table. And we've got a nice view of their interpretation of the city of Arkham, I would imagine. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. And then we have some cards here. Let's see here. Water protection. So these may be spells and other things. And these dice. Take a little look here. Yeah. Don't bite your fingernails, kids. You'll never get anything open like this. Oh, Jesus. I'm sure they'll tell me what's inside if I just go to the book. I'll give it another go. Almost there. There we go. All right. Let's take a look what you get inside here. Yes, dice. Should have guessed. And then, so it looks like you have two colored sets of dice that probably have two meanings within the game. One green and one brown, I assume. And what do we have here? We have, looks like more props. Yes. And more props. So yeah, so you could see the issue already with, you know, if there wasn't a already VTT version of this game, a bit of a problem getting all of these things configured on your standard virtual tabletop to run this game accordingly. And we have some giant cards, allies, each in one. So these are, it looks like NPC cards. And it looks like there's little slots on there for the tokens that I saw earlier. So a very involved game. A lot of moving pieces. A lot of things that are needed and required within this game. So I'm going to put some of these things back, and I'm just going to go ahead and go through the book to get some of the details of what this game is about. So we'll set these tokens and everything back in. But yes, definitely a lot. And I believe this was $39. I could be wrong. But with all the stuff you get, you know, if it's a good game, it's definitely worth it. You know, it's just about as many bits and bobs you might get minus actual plastic miniatures for your characters that you would in any sort of Arkham Horror board game. So let's put these back. But yes, a lot of details here, a lot of things to peruse. And Joe Diamond, I would imagine he's what? Yes, the PI, the private investigator. Okay, so let's just set this aside for a moment. And, excuse me, there you go. And take a look what's in the book. All right, Hungering Abyss. So, and I got to say, the artwork is wonderful. Definitely evocative of, you know, Arkham and the horrific aspects of the Lovecraftian mythos, or cosmic horrors, if you prefer to use that term. So what do we have in here? So we've got a welcome to Arkham Horror, little mature themes warning, sanity and horror, little reference here to H.P. Lovecraft and you know, the bigotry associated with him from the past. All right, so let's go just take a look at the introduction. Greetings, Investigator. The tome you hold in your hands is part of the Arkham Horror Hungering Abyss ready-to-play starter set. The book and the other components in this kit provide everything you and your friends and family need to pursue the truth behind the unsettling disappearances and unnerving howls that plague Arkham. Together with the direction of the Game Master, 2 to 5 players take on the role of specific characters known as investigators. The Game Master has the important role of acting as the game's facilitator. Yeah. So that's just a general introduction to the game itself. Let's see. Themes, pulp heroism. Arkham Horror is a setting that encourages the investigators to work together and pool their resources to track down leads, find clues, solve puzzles, and fight, trick, or flee fearsome enemies ranging from fanatic cultists to eldritch abominations. Okay, that's great. What comes inside? All right, so that thing is a puzzle to solve. We have your tokens, 5 investigator portfolios to choose from, 21 item cards, 12 green 6-sided dice, 12 black 6-sided dice, 7 pieces of evidence, 16 enemy and ally profile cards, 3 double-sided maps, and 1 Game Master board. Okay, I mean, you can lay it down flat if you're one of those who feels like a little piece of cardboard divides you and your players' oceans apart. All right, so just kind of want to see if we can find here, you know, just what the rules are based upon without giving too much away. So before running each act, yada, 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 what's really going on, the investigation, cultists among us. So there's how many acts? 1, 2, 3 acts within the game itself and the end of the investigation. Okay, so let's get our story straight. Dice pool, actions, and skills. Okay, that's what I want to touch upon. Okay, so it is play as you go along. So again, little word of warning. I'm not going to go through this whole book in details, but since this is Act 1, there may be some spoilers here. All right, so the first scene is a narrative scene, which means its stakes are lower than those of scenes in which enemies come knocking. Okay, so it's going to walk you as if you're a new game master, but also introduce you to the game even if you aren't new. All right, so let's see here. Players might just talk to each other in character or spend time looking at or sharing the evidence each investigator has on the back of their portfolio. When an investigator wants to try to do something, there we go, like solve a puzzle or find information in a book, it's time to introduce some of the game's basic mechanical elements, the dice pool actions and skills. Thank you. The dice pool is simple. Never say that in a role-playing game. Just kidding, but yeah. You call something simple, someone will turn around and go, oh, it's complicated. I don't get it. So each investigator has six-sided dice that are placed on their investigator portfolio as shown in Figure 1. Okay, there we are. The number of the dice in the dice pool represents the character's current health to a maximum of 6. It also limits how much effort they can put into taking actions during a narrative scene or doing a single round of a structured scene. Structured scenes and rounds are covered in Scene 2. We're not alone. Fair enough. Right now, all investigators in the scene are healthy and their dice pools each contain 6 dice. Later, during combat, an investigator may take damage, temporarily reducing the total number of dice allowed in their dice pool. This affects how many dice they can use. They can use each narrative scene or each turn in a structured scene to take actions. You just said that. During a narrative scene or a turn in a structured scene, a player can spend dice from their dice pool to have their investigator perform complex actions. Simple actions can be performed without spending any dice, but they cost 1 die to perform during a structured scene. Okay, so narrative scene, you don't have to spend any, but structured, you may have to for simple actions. Once a player spends a die, they must set it aside until the pool refills. Dice pools refill to their current dice pool limit at the beginning of a game session, at the start of a new scene, or at the start of the investigator's turn during a structured scene. Okay. Fair enough. All right, narrative scenes and dice. If the investigators run out of dice during a narrative scene but still have tasks they want to accomplish, a new narrative scene begins. The GM determines approximately how long the scene took the group, most commonly 15 minutes to an hour. If an investigator runs out of dice during a narrative scene, but other characters still have dice, the investigator can still communicate and plan with the group. But their character is busy with the task they chose to do and must wait for a new narrative scene to perform additional actions. Okay, I'm following. This ensures each character has an equal chance to act during this time. Okay. Additional dice. Some knacks, abilities, and pieces of equipment allow characters to receive 1 or more additional dice during certain actions. Yep, fair enough. Visibility of dice pools. Dice pools are visible to all players, including the Game Master. The rule applies to every dice pool, including those of characters controlled by the Game Master, whether they are the investigator's allies or enemies. Being able to see how many dice a character has in their pool is important for passing and reactions, which are covered later in the adventure. Okay, that's good and all, but what do we do with the dice? Each of the investigators, as well as each of the characters controlled by the Game Master, has a set of skills. Skills represent a character's ability to succeed at certain types of tasks or interactions. Each skill has a value of 2+ and 6+, with 2+ being the best and 6+ being the worst. Okay, why is that? If the character attempts an action that has a reasonable chance of failure, the player must perform a complex action. Here we are. To do so, the player chooses a number of dice between 1 and the current number of dice in their dice pool. They remove that number of dice from the pool and roll them. Usually, if at least one die rolls a number that is equal to or greater than the value of the character's relevant skill, relevancy is determined by the Game Master, the character successfully performs the action they've attempted. Okay, so for instance, if Rita Young has an agility value of 4+, she needs at least one die to roll a 4, 5, or 6 for her to succeed at an agility-related action. The skills are explained here in the investigative portfolio. So we've got agility, athletics, intuition, knowledge, lore, melee combat, presence, range combat, resolve, and wits. When a skill is improved, its dice value decreases by 1. For example, if an investigator has an athletic skill of 5+, and they choose to improve it, the skill would become 4+ instead. So yes, so that explains why each value has anything between a 2+ and a 6+. So the lower the number, the easier it is for you to roll over it. So you're rolling over on 6-sided dice. You're trying to roll over your skill value. All right, advantage and disadvantage. There are simple ways to represent characters aiding one another, circumstances working out in their favor, and so on. On the investigator's turn, an investigator or ally may spend one die to give another character advantage on their next complex action. When an action is performed with advantage, the player adds one additional die to the pool before rolling. Got it. And then likewise, when an action is performed with disadvantage, the player adds one additional die to the pool before rolling. After rolling, they must remove one die with the highest die result from the pool. Okay, so it's you roll and you get to pick, either the best or the worst. Rerolls, okay. Some investigators and NPC capabilities, such as certain knacks and so on, spells, as well as some pieces of equipment and items allow or require a player to reroll one or more dice on a roll to perform a complex action. Okay. So, interesting so far. It's, relatively simple. Insights. At the beginning of each game session, investigators can insight up to their insight maximum. During the game, they can spend insight in the following ways. After performing a successful complex action, they can spend one insight to add one additional success to the results. After performing a complex action or reaction, they can spend one insight to perform the action with advantage. They may spend one or more insight to introduce a narrative element into an ongoing scene. Examples include a character finding a scalpel in an intense situation to defend themselves with, or insight can be spent to avoid effects of certain traumas where listed. So yeah, so we've got a dice pool, dice economy going on here. And, that's the gamble. How many dice do you want to use in order to succeed in the action or complex action that you're trying to accomplish here based on your skills, and how much insight do you want to burn in order to accomplish this, and how much aid do you want to provide to someone, thus losing your die, but allowing them to succeed. So, and then of course you run the risk of running out of dice during that particular scene. So, complex action, like an attack, trying to climb a fence, or attempting to track down information. So basic complex actions. Excuse me. Ooh, pardon me. What do we have here? We got disengage. When you are engaged in melee close quarters combat, perform a complex action using the melee combat skill. On a success, you may move up to 10 feet, about 3 meters. On a failure, you may not move this turn. Okay. Heal Horror. Perform a complex action using the Resolve skill or the Presence skill. On a success, replace one horror die in the relevant pool with a standard die. Okay, so there's horror die too in this game. For information, see horror damage and horror dice. Heal wounds, make an attack, and reload under pressure. And then, of course, looks like you can strain yourself. You suffer an injury. Okay. And so we've got some information setting up the scene. And again, we're looking at an adventure. So spoilers, people. Block your eyes. Don't listen. Watch another thing. So I think the only thing I just want to take a look at here, so we don't, spoil the rest of it, is just horror dice, because it's a horror game. So we what we've dealt with so far is just basic RPG interactions. We've got a die system. It's a die pool with some dice economy rolling on. You spin your dice in order to accomplish things, deciding depending on how many you want to use to roll. And after a bit of time, you will replenish those, but you run the risk of running out when you need it most. But this is, as I said, a horror game, a Lovecraftian mythos, cosmic horror. So we want to know how horror works and possibly sanity if they have it here. All right, so horror dice. Certain situations, knack spells, and abilities deal horror damage. When a character suffers horror damage, their player replaces a number of dice up to their current die pool limit with horror dice equal to the damage they suffered. Oh, okay. The dice should be a different color to make it clear which dice are horror dice and which are not. Horror damage does not reduce a character's die pool limit. Horror dice function the same way as standard dice. If your character's dice pool is reduced due to damage, the horror dice can be temporarily removed from the pool, but they are always removed last after any standard dice. If your character is later healed, the horror dice are returned to your pool. Oh, okay. When any character performs a complex action using one or more horror dice, at least one horror die rolls a 1, the character suffers a trauma. Okay. The more ones rolled, the greater the trauma severity is. To determine the results of the trauma, roll a d6 and add +1 to the result for each one rolled on a horror die during the complex action. Then apply the result to the trauma results table. This table can be found on your Game Master board. Interesting. Okay, so you can heal horror, healing traumas. All right, so is that the sanity mechanic in the game? I could have swore they mentioned sanity in the beginning. Let me just take a quick look. Let's see here. Rerolls, simple actions, aid, so on and so forth. And, well, let's see. Is there by chance? Is there by chance? No, there's not. Maybe in the beginning? No, there's not. Okay, so I would have to flip through this to see if there's some sort of sanity aspect here. So just a quick flip through, simple actions, yada, yada, yada. Taking actions, passing into your turn, reactions, injuries, attacks, and damage. We've got puzzles, friend or foe, St. Mary's Hospital, Sturwalla. Let's see, Bob is lurking. Okay, I think the rest is just adventure here, so I think that is... So the taking horror is your sanity mechanic, I think. Yep, leveling up before the finale. All right, so there we go. Interesting. Okay. Well, I mean, I think I touched on it enough for a general first impression. I got a basic idea how the game works. So interesting. Yeah, I don't really have anything really bad or, overwhelming to say about it. It's definitely interesting that, how the game works. I'm curious if I'm overlooking something regarding sanity. I may be, but it's no big deal. It's definitely something. Okay, yeah, theme sanity and horror. That's what I was referring to. So the horror dice. Obviously, this would be one since it's so different that would probably want to give it a little go to play to see how it is. It is a starter set, so it is going to walk you through it. But yeah. So, Well, I think we might be at the end of this unboxing. So, yeah. So, like I said, it's something that probably would definitely need to play with this one around a bit to see how it works. It's definitely an interesting way to tackle it. They aren't necessarily diving straight into like a Cthulhu-esque clone. Obviously, it's touching on the same type of genre here, but and it is a starter set. So a lot of the rules may not be, may not be presented here as it will be when the book comes out. So, yeah, this would definitely be one I would probably want to see about getting to my local table to go through the starter set. Oh boy, excuse me, and try it out. It doesn't look that long. This might be able to get through a couple sessions. And then you get your general idea of it. Definitely, I hope that that a lot of the stuff in here, the bits and bobs, at least I assume the tokens and the maps will have some replayability when the book comes out. That's the general downside you have with certain starter sets is they're very detailed, very wonderful, but they're kind of one and done, and you really don't need them past the point of a core rulebook coming out. The rare exception is like the Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay starter set, and certain other things such as that. So, yeah. Well, there you go. This has been yet another completely unprofessional unboxing with Arkham Horror, the role-playing game. If you have any thoughts, drop them in the comments, shoot me a message on social media, whatever the case may be. If you'd like to know more information about this, I'll definitely have some links to it in the description, and more things to come, from the Gen Con Hall. And as mentioned, hopefully soon we'll be doing the last video of my wife tackling the Monster Manual art critique on all the wonderful covers that that came with the Monster Manuals over the years. So if you like this video, give a like, share it, subscribe. I think I'm signed up for some sort of thing where you can drop a buck or two, whatever, that's fine. But also check out Titterpigs, the podcast I do with Keith from Rolling Boxcars. We've got, like I said, the recap on the YouTube site, but also that will be going into audio format as episode 41 for the Titterpigs podcast. So until next time, have a wonderful day. Take care, everyone.